Donald Trump has had former FBI Director James Comey indicted, allegedly on account of perjury in the Trump-Russia probe. Accused international war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu spoke at a UN delegation today, and 90% of the crowd walked out in protest. And Pete Hegseth has ordered every single flag officer in the United States military to be in Virginia next week for a mystery meeting. He's not telling them what for. Now, what do all of these things have in common? Well, I spent 13 years in military intelligence, so let me connect the dots for you. Let me give you my analysis of what the hell's going on, because it is not good. And it is absolutely critical that you realize what moment we are in. We cannot miss this moment. I need you to lock in. I need you to focus. This is no longer a warning. The alarm bells are ringing, and what I'm about to say should terrify anybody. And to anybody who's still sitting on the couch waiting and hoping it gets better, this is the video that should get you off the couch. But do me a favor, before I go on, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment with your own feedback. This helps me get the content to you quicker in the future, as well as allowing this channel to grow and get this message out. So let's start with the indictment of James Comey. Now, we know every MAGA accusation is actually a confession. We know that. From 2021 to 2025, Trump spent 4 years telling everybody that he was being targeted by the Department of Justice, that the Biden administration was weaponizing the government.
The only way he can get elected is to cheat. But this time they're using weaponization of Department of Justice, go in to see the local DAs, go in to see the attorney generals to cheat.
And why did he say all that? Have you ever thought what he was actually saying? That was his plan. He was saying all that because that's what he would do if he was Joe Biden. That's how projection works. You accuse people of doing the things that you would do in their position. And so he was accusing Biden of the thing that he wanted to do, and more importantly, the thing he wanted to do if he won the election again. They were not accusations at all. They were roadmaps. They were confessions. And you see, 2016 Trump and 2025 Trump are different Trump. In 2016, Donald Trump did not think he was going to win the election. He was running as a joke. He wasn't taking it seriously. But then the problem is he did win. Then he was in the Oval Office without a fucking clue. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know, more importantly, what he could get away with. He was kind of figuring out how much wiggle room he had to do the things he wants to do, grift off the American people and gain power and not listen to anybody. But a very important point to make in his first term is he had people around him that would tell him no. That's why he fired so many people. You remember his first term, he fired a lot of people? That's because he had people telling him no. But by the time he got to the end of that first 4 years, he had learned what he can kind of do. He found some loopholes and some wiggle room to kind of get away with bullshit. And he got more and more brazen near the end of his first term. He started firing people that were saying no and hiring people that were loyalists. He started working on surrounding himself with people that had his vision and nothing else. But the problem is, by the time he realized what he could get away with, by the time he realized how much he could manipulate the office of the presidency, his term was over. He was losing the election and he was going to be out. But rather than leave, he tried to incite people into an insurrection, and he did, but the insurrection failed. So then he spent the next 4 years plotting for when he came back to office. He was going to take it over from the inside. By the way, this is why we have Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, to prevent people who tried to overthrow the government from being in charge of the government. But I digress. That's for another day. In any case, Trump's in office now. Fuck the 14th Amendment, I guess. He's already told everybody he's not going to honor Biden's pardon because of the quote-unquote auto pen scandal. He's going to do what he wants to do. So if Donald Trump is violating the Constitution, my question to you is, who's going to arrest him? And while you're working on the answer to that, let me save you some time by reminding you that the SCOTUS has already given him immunity. SCOTUS has said he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And now Donald Trump has taken the first real tangible step from hypothetical to reality by having former FBI Director James Comey arrested for nothing more than doing his job. Everything Jim Comey did was above the water. The allegations against him are ridiculous. Everybody knows it. Well, everybody that isn't MAGA knows it. And so this is clearly Donald Trump targeting his political enemies and weaponizing the Justice Department, just like he spent 4 years projecting that Biden was doing. Now, I know you might be thinking, what the hell does all of that have to do with everybody in the UN delegation walking out on Benjamin Netanyahu's speech? Great question. Glad you asked. We are at the part of the movie where the main storylines are convergent. See, this movie started with a young FBI director at the top of his career cracking one of the biggest cases he's ever been put on. A former president having boxes of classified documents in his bathroom. refusing to obey an FBI subpoena after he just tried to overthrow the government. And while that part of the movie was playing out, there was this other storyline going on in the background where you have that same former president, you have one of his buddies, the prime minister of one of the United States' biggest allies. But the thing is, this former president's buddy, this prime minister, is leading a terror campaign against another much more oppressed country, one who's been terrorized by its colonizers forever, to the point that the colonizers, the allies, are trying to ethnically cleanse that oppressed country to wipe them off the face of the earth. And while those two storylines are playing out, you got a young Fox News host who's making friends with someone who's soon to be the future president for a second time. And despite his battles with alcohol, his lackluster military career, his mediocre job as a TV host, he finds himself suddenly the Secretary of Defense. And now those three storylines are converging. Everyone is meeting each other in the middle of this movie. You see, this walkout at the UN, it says the rest of the world sees what Netanyahu is doing. When he was flying to this meeting, by the way, he had to make sure his plane didn't fly over countries that are honoring the international warrant for his arrest, because those countries would have commandeered his plane, made him land, and arrested him for war crimes. The entire rest of the world sees what's happening in Gaza. It is a genocide. And when asked to pick a side, are you for genocide or are you against it? At least some of the world, Italy and Spain, they've backed it up by sending boats out to protect the civilian flotilla under attack by Israel's Navy, who are simply trying to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza. But to keep it short, Netanyahu's a war criminal. And the only country who doesn't see it is us, because we're friends with him. And Donald Trump's talking about real estate deals in Gaza when this is all over. But the entire rest of the world's leadership said, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to sit for your speak. I'm going to walk out on you. I'm going to make a statement. I'm going to pick a side. You are our enemy. But while that's happening, the Secretary of War, because remember, it's the War Department now, that same Secretary of War has called for every single flag officer in every branch of the service to come to an in-person meeting next week in Virginia, and he hasn't told them why. And side note, the whole meeting could have been a damn email. When you have the entire military's leadership, you should probably just send them a fucking email. But this, my friends, is the headline that should be the headline. Everything happening is big news, but this is uncommon. This is unheard of. Now, we do have some historical reference for it. Hitler once did it. They called it the Night of the Long Knives. Take some time to look that up when you get a chance. But here's what I predict. What I predict is that Hegseth is having a direct call to tell people to pick a side. I think Pete Hegseth is going to tell the top leadership, top brass in the military, pick a side. It's Donald Trump or you're a traitor. Donald Trump told Comey, you picked the wrong side. The rest of the world told Netanyahu, you picked the wrong side. And Hegseth is about to give the military that same damn choice, and it's not looking good. So, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, the world is officially split. And we, too, are being told to pick a side. This happened in World War II, by the way. We called the enemy the Rome-Berlin Axis. Remember that? And George W. Bush gave a speech in 2002 where he talked about the alliance between Iraq, Iran, and North Korea and came up with a better name that retroactively references that axis even better. He called it the Axis of Evil. We are now on the verge of World War III, but what's most terrifying to me is we are now on the side of the Axis of Evil. World War II, it was Italy, Nazi Germany, and Japan. Today, it's Russia, Israel, and the United States of America. The rest of the world's against us now. We're not the same military that liberated the concentration camps. We're the goddamn country building them. We're calling them Alligator Alcatraz. We're not the country that's unifying the world. We're the country that's siding with war criminals. We're rolling out the red carpet for Putin. We're shaking hands with Netanyahu, and the rest of the world won't even talk to these people. Can you see what's happening? We are the axis of evil. And when World War III breaks out, we are the bad guys. We are at the climax of this movie where the storylines have converged, but there's a twist. We've been the bad guys the whole damn time. And if you can't see it playing out around you, I urge you to wake up. This chaos is starting to feel a little bit normal. So maybe you feel like I'm just overreacting. But I'm here to tell you this is the climax of the movie, and we all have to pick a side. The only good news I can give you is this. The end of this movie hasn't been written yet, but I'll be goddamned if I'm letting them be the ones holding